All right.
Hey guys.
We are on to talk about some of the training needs that people listed in the survey that we put out recently, which was how do OCR athletes train? We closed it off at 85 participants, so we had 85 people chime in with some of these specific needs. The biggest needs primarily is the way the question was worded for them in OCR. So we're going to go over some of those. Hopefully you'll find this information very helpful. So the first one, someone said, this is not a quote, but the general gist of what they were saying was their biggest area of need is with obstacle-specific skills, and they said it's extremely difficult to work on those if they don't have access to the obstacles. So they actually went on to say that they sign up for races in order to practice that.
There's, um, it definitely helps to actually be on the obstacle to practice, but what you got to do is just break it down by what muscle groups you're using on that obstacle. And then, I mean, you have to get a little bit creative sometimes, especially if all you have is access to like a general type of gym with machines and stuff like that. But there are different things you can do. So, like, the rope climb, for example, or monkey bars, that's going to be mostly back, biceps, your grip strength, stuff like that. And you can train that with dumbbells, lat pull down, doing different things like that. Machines is not ideal, but you can do it. And then also maybe just find like a park outdoors, um, do monkey bars, stuff like that. For grip strength, I'll do a lot of towel work. So if you just get like a small hand towel, wrap it around a dumbbell or a kettlebell. You can do farmer carries like that. You can do inverted rows. You can do your pull-ups like that. And that's just going to give you a lot more grip strength, which is the big majority of what most of the obstacles are.
Speaking of which, and I agree with everything you said, that you do not need to be on the obstacle to prepare or practice to beat the obstacle. So there's a lot of things you can do to try and beat them. But like you said, grip strength is a lot of what it is. So our second one, a bunch of different people listed these two specifically and listed them together. So as they said that they need to work on their upper body strength, which is pretty broad, and their grip strength. You already mentioned a few things for that. Farmer's carries are a great thing for that with dumbbells, kettlebells, whether you use a towel or not. Bed hangs, anything on a bar, you can simulate.
Yeah, you can do like a million things with just a bar, and you can even just buy one for like a door frame
Yeah,
and use it at home. You can do grip switches. You can do just alternating dead hangs. So one hand drops, bring it back up, the other hand drops, stuff like that. Use a towel to advance it, make it harder. I have some equipment that I use, like the ball grip from Fit Bar Strong, and then also Grip Sling. They have their straps. That's a good way to advance it. Again, all you need is a bar. Just one bar, hook them on there, and you can just switching from one thing to the other. And that's kind of mimicking what you do in an obstacle anyway, except with very little equipment.
absolutely. A bar is really all you need, and you should be able to get there. Having monkey bars to practice the swinging from one to the next or just changing grips moving forward is helpful. But if you just have one bar, you can definitely develop your grip strength to beat the obstacles without, again, needing the obstacles themselves.
I will say though, it definitely helps to get the practice on the obstacles because then you can really focus on technique. Because if you just have one bar, you can't really focus on the technique of using some momentum for monkey bars or beater or whatever like that. So it does obviously help to actually get practice on the obstacle, but that's only in an ideal world. Not everybody has a setup in their backyard where they can do that.
Yep, I don't, and I have not needed it yet, thankfully. Although I do technically have like a little monkey bar thing in my backyard, front yard, whatever, in the apartment complex. And then, so with grip strength, they also specifically said upper body strength, which all the carries, every single obstacle requires some level of that, whether you're going over a wall and you got to push yourself over the top of it, depending on your technique. Even in crawling under the barbed wire takes some upper body strength. So upper body strength, I try and keep it simple if people are new to OCR or new to exercise in general. And basic things, you mentioned before the lat pull downs, very good for developing back strength, but then push-ups. Like I feel like in everyone's training, they forget about push-ups. And if you want to work overall upper body strength, those are really good to do.
Yeah. Dips are good too. Like if you're trying to push yourself up and over a wall, and then the inverted wall, and then whatever the one Spartan has that has the different bars and it's inverted. I forget what that's called, but that as well. Anything pushing yourself up and over, you're going to need some tricep, chest, shoulder strength. So dips is good for that too. And you can do those either on bars out to the side or on a box, just depending on how strong you are right now. So
yeah,
variations, and you don't need much equipment for that.
Yep. Some other good basic exercises: dumbbell chest press, upper body strength, working on your shoulders a little bit with dumbbells, overhead presses, things like that, lateral raises, build up some shoulder strength, all those things. Very basic things you can do to start to build upper body strength for OCR. And then depending on how advanced you are, you can get into much more, I guess we'll call them complicated things. All right, so the next one that was listed, I kind of have these in order from the most listed down to only a few people listing them. Transitioning between obstacles and running without having to rest a lot. I know this is a tough one for most people. If you're not in great cardio shape, it's going to be tough no matter what. If you don't have a lot of strength for obstacles, but you're in great cardio shape, it's still going to be hard because you're switching from cardio-based movement to one where it's taxing a lot of your muscle groups depending on the obstacle, but probably a lot of them all at once. And so usually people either have to take some time before the obstacle and walk up to it, catching their breath, and then afterwards, the same thing, walking away from it instead of just getting right on, getting right off and going.
I can remember very clearly. It was probably, I don't know, the first couple years that I did Spartan races, but like I would walk for probably a solid minute to let my heart rate come down, but then doing like the monkey bars or anything really, any obstacle, I would be so out of breath, sometimes get a little bit nauseous because you're switching from your legs then to your upper body, extending your arms up, expanding everything. And so I can remember what that's like. That is rough. And it's still, I mean, obviously still a challenge, but one workout I like to do, well, I don't like to do. One workout I do that I know helps, I just set a timer, 30 minutes, and I just go burpees, pull-ups, and I'm not maxing out each time. I'll leave a couple extra in the tank, so like maybe 10 burpees when really I could have done 15, and then 5 burpees instead of 8 or whatever, just so I can keep going the entire time. But then you're getting that up and down the cardio, getting some pull-ups. Sometimes I'll do just like quick quarter mile at a pretty fast pace, do some pull-ups, quarter mile, pull-ups, back and forth like that, just to mimic it. It's just kind of a race simulation.
Yep, race simulations are awesome for that. I used to do those more often when I was at a different gym. I don't really have that option at the gym I'm at now, but something I do is just almost exactly what you said, run up to the pull-up bar, do several pull-ups, and then as quickly as possible, once my feet hit the ground, start running again. So it's just simulating that. Another great one to do if you don't have the space to do the running, if you're in a gym and let's say the treadmills aren't right next to the pull-up bars. Once you hop down from the pull-up bar, jump squats. It's maybe even better than doing the running because that's a lot more stress on your legs than just basically running. But yeah, jump squats. Once you're done those, hop up, do some pull-ups, get right back to jump squats. You could even vary it with like jumping lunges and things like that also.
Yep.
Plenty of things to help your obstacle transitions. You just got to train them specifically. The next one, number 4, is hill training. And I have the most obnoxious answer to this. I try not to use it though, because people are in places often where there aren't very many hills, like Florida. But if you're in a place with hills and your weakness is hills, go run or walk on the hills.
But if you're in a place like Raleigh that doesn't have too many hills,
Okay, well that's different.
it's a
So
little
then
bit
you
more
need
creative.
to be more creative. So one good way is to find a hill, preferably grass if you're training for OCRs. You're more than likely going to be running on dirt or grass up a mountain. So running up it, walking down it, running up it, walking down it, and not doing hill sprints. You're not trying to go all out effort. You're not going to last long, and it's not going to help you over the course of like a sprint or beast distance very much. But just jogging up it, or even just keeping your feet chopping, going up the hill, going back down, chop up the hill, go back down. Hill repeats, not at max effort. Or if you have access to a treadmill, a lot of people do, even in their apartment gyms and everything, crank the incline up to 15%. Usually they'll only go that high if it's just a generic gym, and start walking. And just keep walking. Try and do longer distances at lower speeds to build up some of that strength in your calves, your glutes, and your quads as you're hiking up that incline.
Yep. And some things that I do, and also I've been listening to Face Stunning and Kirk DeWitt. They did post articles, podcasts, stuff like that, talking about, because Faye lives in New York, and so it's flat there for the most part. And then I think Kirk lives in Florida, maybe something like that. Anyway, so they just were talking about different ways you can get creative. So he was talking about like walking lunges, step ups, basically, I mean, body weight or with weight exercises you can do to strengthen your quads, your glutes, your calves, stuff like that. Plyometric split squats, squat jumps. John Albin, he used to do, before he lived in Norway, he used to do millions of squat jumps to train for the hills. So you don't always have to be on the hill. Just, again, think about what muscles you have to use and then focus on training those muscles.
Yeah, and focus on training them repeatedly, because when you're hiking up a mountain or running up a mountain, it's thousands of steps, not 10 squats aren't going to do it. You got to do a lot of squats.
Yeah, I mean, think about when you're climbing up one of those hills, your legs are on fire. It takes, I mean, like Asheville, if you're not able to run up it, that's going to take you a couple minutes to get to the top. And I remember maybe in like 2015, I was in an open heat and I sprinted. It was a hill at the very start, and I went as fast as I could to the top of the hill and then almost passed out. Thought I was going to throw up. You know, you see the little stars and everything, and then the tunnel vision. I was like, wow.
I remember that race.
That is at the very, yeah, it was you, me, and Steven, our other brother, and we all sprinted to the top, and all of us just about died. And that was at the very start of, I think, a super.
It was super. We decided that getting to the hill meant winning the race, but it didn't.
If it was like an eighth of a mile race, yes.
Yeah. What venue was that?
I have no idea. It probably wasn't even that big of a hill, but
It
it
was
sure
New
felt.
Jersey. It was New Jersey.
Oh, then it was a big hill.
Yeah, because I remember when we went back for the Beast last year, we are like, wait a minute, this is that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Training hills definitely helps a lot. I haven't felt like I was going to die in a long time, so that's
also, and I just want to throw this out there, I have seen people asking this question a lot in Facebook OCR groups, and I've seen responses where people are like, don't do the Stairmaster. It's not going to help you at all. And that's stupid because it will help you. If you don't have access to hills, you're continuously taking that step up, having to lift your knee up and engage the same muscle groups that would be engaged as you're walking up a mountain. It's worth doing. So anyone who tells you not to use a Stairmaster, if you don't have hills around to train on, don't listen to them. Use the Stairmaster if that's all you have.
And you can even try carrying like a sandbag. I've done that a couple times. Just we have one of those pancakes at my gym, so throw one of those on your shoulder. Go for like a minute on one shoulder, switch to the other, and just alternate back and forth.
Don't sprint on Stairmasters; it breaks them. All right, moving on to the next one. Number 5 is heavy carries. Several people listed that heavy carries were their weak spot, as it were, in their racing. So, what do you do for heavy carries?
Well, I think the muscles you use for a heavy carry, again, your grip, and we're thinking about the bucket. I guess the sandbag too, even though, I mean, yeah, you throw that over your shoulder. We'll talk about the bucket. Bucket uses grip strength, your traps, your shoulders, upper back, and a lot of core. I think most people give out, or at least I did, with my grip strength and also the core. So my lower back, especially on carrying it up hills, I'd have to set it down because I felt like I'd snap in half. So again, just think about what muscles you're trying to use. A good way to simulate the bucket carry is farmer carries. Hold dumbbells, kettlebells on each side, or hold a kettlebell in the front and maybe go on a treadmill or climb up a hill or something like that. Just trying to mimic the exact same motion.
Yep, completely agree with all of that. Heavy carries, it does. So in the OCR training tips group that we run on Facebook, which if you're not haven't joined, you should join. We put up tips all week long. It's awesome. One of the posts we put on was heavy carries are heavy carries. It doesn't matter like what you're carrying, just pick up something heavy and start carrying it. If you're getting into the nitty gritty, it does matter what you're carrying, but generally speaking, it doesn't. If you're carrying something to the side versus in front, those are different things. Like Spartan still maybe has the farmer's carry with the logs, very rarely, I guess. I think they had it in a race I saw this year.
They had it in Jacksonville.
Yeah, so they throw it in every once in a while. So that is a different carry. It's a different thing than carrying a bucket up front. You're not having the weight distributed up front, in my opinion, is much harder than off to the sides. On the sides, they balance each other out. Up front, it's tipping you forward and you have to try and hold up doing it.
Yeah, that's what usually gets the lower back. So if you don't, I mean, you can go to Home Depot. That's what I did. Bought a bucket for $2 and I put some sandbags in it.
You got it for $2? Mine cost $3.
But if you absolutely can't do that and you're not able to train with something in the front, focus on strengthening your upper back. Also, a good exercise is renegade rows because that's going to strengthen the heck out of your core and then also your shoulders. All the same muscles. It's not the exact same thing, but it, again, just strengthening those muscles to build up the strength and endurance.
Lots of core strength is very important for it. You would think your back is the most important on it, but your core is more so. Because if you're using your back to hold it, you're going to get very, very tense, very, very tight muscles in your low back, and it's going to make your running extremely tough after that. Been there, done that. I think the second race I ever did, and it was like this very steep hill with the bucket carry, and I've never felt that type of tension in my back before. It was just like all completely locked up, and I was determined not to set the bucket down. So I made it down the hill, but after that I was just like waddling like a duck because I was so stiff.
For the sandbag carry, that's definitely a lot of core too, especially if you're trying to go fast with it or uphill with it. It's not in the front, which makes it easier, but you still need a lot of core strength. And then definitely a lot of leg strength, and something that's going to help with that is walking lunges with dumbbells if you can handle that. That's going to just help build up the leg strength so that you don't burn out and you can keep a faster pace.
Yep. And then also for either of those, doing deadlifts will be very helpful for overall strength. You'll be strengthening your legs, your back, your core, upper back, everything, all of it, your grip strength as well. So either with a barbell or a hex bar, both of those are great. And if you have access to a hex bar, I know not all gyms have them. Farmers carries with hex bars are very, very good.
Yep. And then there's also the Atlas carry, which is a shorter carry, but it's definitely a carry. And I mean, it just doesn't feel good to me because you're picking up a heavy weight that's usually sunken into the ground.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's below the ground. It's not even just on the surface. Like it's below my feet.
Obviously, that's the point to make it harder, but that's just something that's hard to train for. So, I mean, a obvious one would be deadlift, strengthen your back and your legs and everything. But um, I would do like kettlebell deadlifts, so the weight's further into the front, your hands are closer together, and maybe have your feet elevated a little bit as long as you're not pulling on your lower back. So just keeping good form because you kind of have to, arch your back a little bit when you're lifting
Yeah, it's that
the
low.
Atlas carry, but that's not how you want to train because that's
No.
how you injure yourself. So
I think also there are um, at least some gyms. I know some CrossFit gyms, maybe other ones have 80 plus pound medicine balls. So if your gym has one of those, that's also a great way to practice picking up a round object from down low. But real quick, with the Atlas carry, do you think they have the dips in the ground to make it hard or just so the balls don't roll away? I always thought they just did it so the balls wouldn't roll away.
probably both.
Probably both. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that was a lot on heavy carries. So then we had a few people mention, and this was pretty like good to see that people are aware of this. Um, Two specifically said that they think that losing weight is like the most important thing they could do to improve their racing, and I completely agree with that. And even if you're not um, 30 pounds overweight, 50 pounds overweight, even if you're 10 pounds overweight, or like um, even 5 pounds makes a huge difference on your endurance, how much weight you have to carry over a course that's 3 to 13 miles or more if you're doing an ultra beast or something. That is a lot less weight to carry over that distance, a lot less stress on your joints and ligaments and muscles. Everything is easier um, functionally if you're at an appropriate weight for it. So,
I think, well, yeah, it also depends on what level you're looking at. Like if you're trying to run elite, then you do have to think about like those 5 pounds because you're going for speed. And if you have to carry that 5 pounds up a rope, over a wall, up a hill, you're just going to wear yourself out more,
yeah,
especially if you don't have the strength to assist. But for somebody who's just trying to finish the course, you don't have to worry as much about 5 pounds. But if you're like 30 pounds overweight or maybe even more, whatever, um, the easier it's going to be for you. Just again, yeah, like Joel said, less impact on your joints. It's going to make probably every single obstacle easier. So
yeah, I mean the less weight you have to carry, the easier the grip strength obstacles become, uh, the easier the running, the hills, all that become. Maybe the only thing you lose in that if you uh, are on the smaller side like I am now, where I'm not as strong as I used to be because I do so much cardio now, is you might lose some time on the carries. Working on that though. But yeah, like last year, no, the year before, I don't know. I think 2 years ago when I went to Honduras, I was like almost 170 and had been racing at that the year before, and very unintentionally drank some of the water and ended up puking my guts out, and I lost like I lost 10 pounds in 2 days. And afterwards, even though I was eating everything normal again, it didn't come back on. But I got a lot faster right afterwards. I do not recommend doing that. And I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But just saying, like, that's the reality. You lose meat. For me, losing those 10 pounds over the course of 2 days. And then when I finally got back to exercise like a week or two later, um, cardio was easier during less weight. Yeah, not fun. Don't do it that way. Do it the healthy way, but I didn't mean to do that. It was an accident. Okay, the next one, number 7, nutrition and hydration. Nutrition/hydration.
Biggest thing I see here with hydration is that
You like how I just took a drink of water when I said that?
yeah, um, I did this myself for like the first several races I did. Is that I would just start drinking water maybe the day before. I never really used to drink that much water. I think I would drink like 2 or 3 16-ounce bottles in a day, and that was like my normal. Don't do that anymore. I'm usually at 100 ounces to a gallon daily. Just depends on how much, what workout I did that day. But you should drink water every single day and not just like the day before or the morning of the race, because then you're not really that hydrated. Your body hasn't had time to adapt to the amount of water you're drinking, and it's not going to be ready for that intensity.
That is very true.
So that's the first tip. Just consistently drink water every single day. I tell all my clients that, everybody I coach, just every day, drink water. Don't stop.
Yep. Yeah, don't stop. Yeah, there are a lot of posts in the Facebook groups, especially this time of year with the hot races and everything, where people are like, all right, guys, we're 5 days out from the race. Make sure you start hydrating now. It's like, yes, make sure you're not missing any uh, water that you need, but you should have been doing that the whole time anyway. It's going to be way more beneficial, especially if your body's used to it and you don't have to throw it through a loop 5 days before a race where you start chugging water and who knows what you're going to do. End up peeing every 5 minutes on the course, Seriously.
For nutrition, I every morning I have oatmeal. For races, it's kind of hard sometimes. Like Asheville, I didn't have access to that. So I had 2 Cliff Bars instead, which is similar and something my body is used to. So pre-race, I usually go with something that's got some carbs, some protein, something that's moderately filling, but I'm not going to feel overly full. And definitely something that my body is used to. Because if you try and switch it up with something new, or for me, something that's too liquidy or sloshy, I need something that's a little bit more like solid, I guess. Oatmeal's not solid, but my body's used to that. So you don't want to switch it up too much, otherwise you're gonna feeling sick or whatever.
Yeah. I have oatmeal and I have eggs before a race. And I've never had I've been doing that all year, and I pretty much did that all last year too. Pretty much what I eat every morning. And that's why I do it before a race too, because it's all the nutrients I need and my body's just completely used to it. So I know if I get sick or something, it's not because of what I ate. Who knows what it would be in that case, but I know the odds of getting sick are very, very slim.
Yep.
And on courses, there are lots of people who talk about mustard packs, pickle juice, salt tablets, any number of protein bars, which I'm good with the protein bars. But the other ones, there have been a lot of different studies done on those, and almost all of them came to the conclusion that it's like a placebo effect. There may be some very minor benefits if you're cramping or something on course to taking those things, but it's like so minor that it's not worth having. Like, it's not actually going to stop you from cramping that moment. But it's a placebo effect. For that reason, I would say take it, because if it works, it works. But really, I think the bigger issue there is people not preparing in advance and not being hydrated in advance and things like that, to where they're cramping.
Oh yeah, I can do some serious carb loading the few days before race.
Yeah, right.
Kodiak cakes, make some sandwiches. I can do some serious carb loading.
I don't really do any of that. I just make sure I eat plenty.
I'll eat a decent amount the night before, like an early dinner, because the races are usually 7:30 for
Oh
the
yeah.
elite. So I'll eat like a good solid meal, potato. I had steak and potatoes the other night before race. That was good at like 4 or 5, a little bit earlier than I normally eat, just to have a little bit more time to digest, so it's not like sitting in my stomach.
I didn't have steak and potatoes. I wish I did. Oh, I had Chipotle, but that I don't normally do that. That's because we ran out of food here at home, and so we couldn't pack anything, so we had to get something on the road. But it worked out okay. It was a good pre-race dinner. Yeah. So essentially, summing it up with nutrition, eat healthy stuff that you're used to eating before a race. Make sure you're hydrated all the time, not just the week of or the day of a race. And you can avoid or forego salt tablets, mustard packets, pickle juice, all that type of stuff if you are properly prepared and have trained in advance. Okay, number 8. This one, yeah, we'll just go into it. So essentially summed up, it's manageable training plans. So they went into more detail with what they were saying, but they're saying how it's difficult for them to find training programs or training plans that they can stick to or that are at their level and not some stupid advanced level.
And in walks Trio Fitness OCR. Check that out. So this is the reason we made Trio Fitness OCR, because the majority of the plans out there are very stock and not customized to the person and their individual needs.
Every single one, almost every single one.
Right. And there's a reason for that, because, I mean, if you're coaching a large number of people, it's very time consuming to edit each and every program, to take the time to talk with the person individually and find out their needs, what equipment they have, what they're going through during the week. Like if they're traveling for work, you have to edit their program. But that's exactly what we do, even though it takes more time, because that's how you have a quality training program that actually works for you. Both of us have been personal trainers for many years now, and so that's exactly what you do as a good personal trainer, is build a customized program. I always tell people, like, it's personal training, which means it's personal to you. So many people would, if they're on the edge about buying training or not, they'd be like, okay, well, are you going to give me the same program as you're giving this other person? I would get that question so many times. I'd be like, no, because that's stupid. One, you're paying me a lot of money. And two, it just doesn't work like that. Like, you can go online and find something for free if you want, but that's not going to work. You need a program that actually fits your needs, your equipment availability, your schedule, your goal, all those things.
Yep. Yeah, and I think one of the things that stock plans don't take into account is where the person is and where the person's been. So if someone has no history in fitness at all and they join an OCR training plan that hasn't taken that into account and they just jump into it, they're either gonna A, burn out very quickly, or B, get injured. And those are two things you don't want, especially if you're trying to help people in the OCR industry. Yeah, figuring out, like you said, where they were, where they're going, all the different things associated, their travel plans, equipment, their schedule, how many hours a day can they realistically do things, and not just giving them like a few workouts and saying good luck with the rest, at least giving them tips and advice on what to do with other things when they're ready for it. So as far as manageable plans go, we can build you a manageable plan that takes you from where you are and where you've been to where you want to be.
Yep. And another important part of that is the communication aspect. So, I mean, again, if somebody gives you a template and you have a bad week for whatever reason or whatever, something happens, screws up the plan, we're able to communicate with you, figure out what happened, try and fix it, see how that week went. Even if everything went well, talk about it and progress from there instead just like setting out a plan and then a new one once you're done with that one and not really revisiting.
Yep.
If you're communicating the whole time, it is so much more custom and much more goal oriented.
Yeah. Having the feedback from someone and then being able to change things accordingly or keep them moving forward if they're going great is extremely helpful from a coach's perspective, but just makes it that much better for the client as well. So.
Yep.
Awesome. And you can find us at triofitnessocr.com for that. All right, number 9, increasing running mileage without getting injured. Tricky one, but not so tricky. If you've never run before, don't start trying to run 15 miles a week. You'll get hurt. If you're running 10 miles a week right now, don't try and run 20 miles a week next week. You'll get hurt.
Yeah, I learned the hard way on this one, which is normally how I learn. So that's cool. I'm getting better at that though. But so 2017, March 2017 was when I started doing OCRs competitive, like actually pursuing OCR competitively. And so I started pretty slow with my running and that. I did very little running actually, but I would do things like the Stairmaster, the bike, just kind of switched up to circuit training to help improve my cardio. 2018, I really upped my running and I was seeing like some massive speed gains very quickly. And of course, I kind of got caught up in that. I was getting in the top 10 in like half of my races in 2018, which was awesome. But then, I wasn't really doing anything else but the running and just trying to improve that. So what ended up happening is I had this imbalance on my left side, and all of a sudden my running started getting slower and I started getting a pain in my hip, and it just kind of got worse from there. But that's just because I kept only doing the running, hitting that hard without any background really in running, no foundation that I'd built for myself, and I ended up getting injured. I jumped into it too quickly. So take the time, slow progressions. Right now, what I'm doing, I'm trying to work up to about 125 miles, in a month. So right now, I'm just progressing by 5 miles per month until I get there, which is 1 point whatever a week. So it's not a lot. And on the days I'm not running, I'll either do some body weight stuff or light weighted, sometimes heavier, but light weighted stuff to just keep those muscles strong, work on flexibility, work on balance, mobility, all that stuff. So you still have that strong foundation that while you're running, you're not breaking yourself down. You're just working to improve.
Yep. So I guess I did similarly. I think I was running sooner than that, though. More like, I think I jumped into running in 2017, and just wanted to see. This is what always happens. I want to see what I can do. So I was running on the W&OD in DC or outside DC, whatever, on pavement with shoes that weren't great for it. And each time I was trying to set a new distance or a new record time-wise, which is stupid. And I honestly knew that at the time, but it's fun. It's fun seeing the the jumps. Like, oh, I ran this in an hour last time and it only took me 58 minutes this time. But the problem with that was that I have similar hip imbalance, except that came up as an IT band problem. And after my longest run ever, which I forced myself to finish, which was stupid, I could barely bend my knees for like 2 days afterwards without tons and tons of pain on the outside of them because my IT bands were all jacked up. But then pretty much I took like 6 weeks off of running and never did that type of training again. And since then, it's been like low progressions. And I built up to a certain amount of miles, and now I gradually increase that. So learn from our mistakes and all the smart running coaches out there, and gradually build up your mileage. That's something, it's much easier to do stupid things with yourself when you're in charge of other people. You're much more responsible. So we actually gradually build up the mileage for our clients. But yeah, if you're, I mean, if you're doing it yourself and you're all into it, you just want to set new PRs, you're going to end up messing something up pretty fast. So like a mile a week is a lot if you've never run before. If you have a large running background and you're trying to build your mileage, a mile a week probably isn't a lot. You're not going to be able to sustain that forever. You probably shouldn't sustain that forever. But yeah, gradual build up. If you're just getting into running, start slow, keep it short for a while. After you've been doing it for a while, then start adding on.
Yep.
And make sure you do your flexibility work, stretching. Make sure you foam roll. If you are blessed and have the money to get massages, do that also. Those will all help.
I've been for the past probably year and a half now. Every single day, I spend probably 45 minutes, at least 30 minutes, probably 45 minutes, either combination, but foam rolling, stretching. I have one of those massage guns, not as good as a real massage, but and then also some of those, some bands that I do stuff to help strengthen like my glutes and all that stuff. So taking the time, I mean, honestly, I hate it because it's boring. It's painful. It's not very comfortable. I'd rather lay on the couch. But it makes such a big difference for your performance and preventing injury.
Absolutely. And one thing that I don't want to leave out is properly warming up before you start, especially if you're doing anything high intensity. But even if you're doing low intensity stuff, spend time beforehand with some good exercises to warm up, at least 5 minutes. If you're doing something longer, more intense, do longer.
I think I tagged you, or maybe I thought about it, but I'm not going to say a name, but there's somebody well known on Instagram or well known in the Spartan community. He has, I saw one of his Instagram posts, and he was saying how he does not warm up before a workout. He was saying, you don't need to do it. I don't think he necessarily said it hurts your performance, but he was saying it's basically a waste of time. And he even went as far as to say, he was like, and if you see me running before a race, it's not because I'm warming up. I'm just trying to get in the right mentality. I was like, you're trying to defend yourself, trying to say, like, I do not warm up. You're not going to catch me doing it. If you see me running, I'm not warming up. I was like, dude, like, really? Warm up. One, it's not going to hurt you. It's going to help you. Two, it will increase your performance. Like, if you start a car and it's 0 degrees out, it takes a while to really get going. The acceleration's slower. The heat takes a while to start working. You're going to freeze. So treat your body the same way. Warm up first. Do stuff to get your muscles a little bit more loose, warmed up, so that when you're actually doing the motion, you're already prepped for it instead of just like jumping into it.
Absolutely.
I thought that was so crazy.
About weight is the weight before you can run, when you warmed up ahead of time and then you have to stand there for 10 minutes and then you're like not as warmed up anymore. But
yeah, I don't like that.
Getting blood flow through the muscles that you're going to be using is important. Do a warm up. you're less likely to get injured, especially if you're doing high intensity. And I'm going to have to ask you after this thing is over who that is, because I'm so curious now. Because that
I,
flies in the face of everything that every coach ever teaches, and like every professional or top athlete does.
yeah.
Like, you're not going to find Olympic athletes just showing up before a 400-meter sprint without having warmed up. Anyway, moving on. we'll not dwell on that. Okay, number 10, and I thought this was interesting because I've honestly never thought about this. Not saying that anything about myself that way, but a few people listed confidence on the obstacles and just confidence in general for a race.
I mean, I can. Maybe this is what they're talking about. Like, I know okay, we'll take monkey bars, for example. When I do them, I do both hands, switch one, both hands, switch one. And I know I can do like swinging and stuff like that, which would make it faster. It'd be less fatiguing on my muscles, probably keep my heart rate lower. Twister, I've seen Ryan Woods, he does that. Couple other examples of just people doing things that are a little bit riskier but would save you some energy and some time. And I just, like, every time I get to it, I'm like, no, I'm going to play it safe, because one, I don't want to screw up and end up doing the burpees, and two, it's just like I just don't have the confidence for it. So maybe that's what they're talking about. I'm not sure, but I mean, at some point, I guess you just have to try it. Because
Yeah,
it might work out and you'll be like, wow, that wasn't as hard as I thought, and you save 10 seconds and your heart rate's not as high.
yeah. They could be talking about that. They could be someone who's just started in racing, and like maybe they failed a few obstacles before, and coming into their next race, they're like, I don't know if I can do this again. Like, I don't know if I can make it up that mountain, or I don't know if I can make it through that obstacle. I don't know if I can do my burpees if I fail the obstacle. A whole lot of I don't knows.
That's probably what it's about.
For someone in that position, because I mean, that's literally where I was for the most part with my first race, because I had no idea what to expect. I'd never done any of the obstacles, never really seriously ran more than a few miles before. Once I started an obstacle, I was like, shoot, I don't know if I can actually finish this. And I failed a few, I believe. Didn't have Twister back then. I would have been a goner on Twister when I first started. And on Beater. But yeah, you just kind of go and do it. You just try. And if you fail, okay, well, at least you know what to work on moving forward, and that gives you a new goal to set for yourself.
Yeah, you just have to have the right perspective. If you are not able to do something, an obstacle, or make it up a hill without stopping, it just don't look at it as like you're not good enough. Just look at it as a way that you can improve. And then the next race you can do, you will feel so much better when you're able to do it without failing the obstacle or whatever. It feels so good to be able to run to the top of the hill and not die.
It does. It
And
does.
somehow keep running after that. The
Yeah.
contrast I've been through is just, sometimes it still amazes me just because I've trained for it though.
I've thought of that a few times. Like, it's amazing how just doing something, even if you don't succeed at it, many of the times you do it, it builds so much more confidence. Like when I first moved to where I am now, and I would go on some of the runs in the mountains around here, I was power hiking up the hills for most of them. And then to try and make up time, I'd like run even faster on the flats, or try and go faster on the downhills and stuff. But it's amazing how now I can run up almost all of them at a decent pace. And it just happened over time after a lot of struggle and not being able to do it. So yeah, if you just set your mind to it and keep working at it, and just keep trying, you'll
Yeah.
build the confidence. Confidence really comes with repetition and building the habit. Keep doing it. All right. The last one we're going to go over, it's a bonus one. Only one person mentioned this, which I actually found pretty shocking considering how many probably millions, definitely millions of burpees this has taken so far, and this is the spear throw. Spearman, whatever they call it. I call it the spear throw. Spearman sounds better.
No. I think I've done 8 races so far this year. I have not missed it once. One time, and this was at Fayetteville on, I don't know, the Super probably. I got it on the wood at the top, but it stuck and it was good. So I've gotten every single spear throw I've done this year, basically a pro at it. And how did I do that? I went to the local ninja gym near me, which is called Warrior Tech OCR. They have Spartan training stuff as well as ninja. Anyway, they had a hay bale there. I just took an afternoon, about 3 hours, and just tried to get a technique down that worked for me, and I got one. And my technique is just if you've seen the movie The Patriot, there's a part where Mel Gibson says, aim small, miss small. So I look at the center of the target, and I know that in the previous years, if my eyes ever left the center, I would miss. So I keep my eyes on the center of the target, take a deep breath, and just throw it hard. I mean, like pretty hard. So it's going in a straight line. It's not like popping up and coming down. It's going in a straight line, and it's going to stick. And that's what works for me.
Unless it pops out because you threw it too hard.
Has not happened.
Yeah, fortunately. That probably helped you in Fayetteville, if that's what you said, when it's stuck in the wood, because if you threw it softly.
It split the wood.
I mean, so last year, the year before last, I was great on the spear. Maybe missed it once or twice that year. Last year, I missed it a bunch of times and was not very happy about it because it cost me a lot of places in multiple races. So I actually got a spear for Christmas. One of my relatives got me one. So I've been practicing with that. But the technique that I was practicing with and found helpful, I actually realized that my last, the race before the last, that I don't even use it during the race. I did for like one race and then it went away. And honestly, I'm not really sure what I think about when I'm throwing it. I just kind of line up in the position that I know I should line up in, and then I throw it. And I missed one this year. It glanced off the top and like took out some of the target with it. So, but if you're having issues with the spear, the most basic things you can do to help yourself: one, make sure the line is not wrapped around anything. Like last weekend, I was reeling it in, and I know there's like a hook on the back side of the metal bar with the metal fence in front, and the rope was on somehow had already been wrapped around the hook once. That's not good. So I unwrapped it off of that hook, however that happened. And then also make sure the rope's on the back side of the fence, on the side that the target's on, so you can't step on it. Make sure it's not under the fence underneath and you're not stepping on it there, because that happened to me once. Unbelievably, it somehow got under the fence and under my foot. And then make sure the spear weight is balanced in your hand. I've seen people hold it right at the front and then all the weight's in the back, so when you throw it, it's going to do some wiggly weird thing. And I've seen people holding it way far back, and if they throw it, all the weight's coming down right away and it's not going to get there. So just make sure it's at a balance point in your hand before you throw.
Yeah, and I have a ton of respect for all these top OCR athletes: Ryan Atkins, Lindsey Webster, Rhea Coble, Robert Killian. Reason I chose those names is because either in Utah or a couple recent races, they either missed no, Ryan Atkins didn't miss, but he took a shocking amount of time at the spear, and his position was awkward. It works for him, but I'm just a little bit shocked that these guys who are the top athletes and have been doing this for years and years, probably at least 5 years each, are still, I think Robert Killian just missed one recently. And it's just, I mean, I know he has a target, but of course they're going 100% in those races. I'm talking about the big national series races. They're stressed about their placement. You know, if you're in first, second, third, fourth, fifth, you don't want to lose that spot. A spear, you're going to lose it. So that's pretty stressful, especially when money, your reputation, and just like the series title is on the line. So I'm not in that position, so I don't understand that stress. I'm sure if I was, I'd probably be throwing it behind me or something like that. So I don't mean disrespect, but you know, when you're watching on TV, like I watched the Utah race, Ryan Atkins was like in this weird position. His hip was forward, his arm was back, the other arm stretched out, which doesn't help me,
What
but
did
hey, it worked
Johnson
for him.
throw?
Lindsey Webster actually missed, and
Yeah.
I mean, she still got first, but she missed. And I was like, oh,
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I think he was lining up in a javelin throw form, like in the like actual javelin throw for track and field.
I know, but it's like,
I know it does.
one, it's not that far, and two, the spear weighs.
Well, it's more about the form than it is anything.
Yeah,
I'm defending him, even though they have had trouble hitting.
I love
Some of those.
them, but hey,
I think a lot of it comes down to like how focused you are on it at the time, how much you've practiced it, and then there is something to the fact that every once in a while you're gonna miss. Not everyone's gonna hit every single time, no matter how good they are. I won't use names, but I saw one guy who's a phenomenal spear thrower nail like just practicing nail like 5 in a row, and then at a race semi recently missed at the race, and you're like, well, how did that happen?
well, that's
So,
like Robert Killian. I saw a video of him online. He
yeah,
took the entire. Is that who you're talking about?
no, someone else.
Oh, he took. It was on the day before, so it wasn't during a race. He took the entire row of spears, which was probably like 10. They filmed him, and he just went one, throw, 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 got every single one, and then the next day in the race, he missed it.
Yeah,
That would suck.
yeah, it would. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say for that. um, I'm sure part of it comes down to your focus. If you're not focused on it at that moment and you're thinking about anything else, your odds of missing just went up. And
That's the
then,
point of it, though. It's not anything physically difficult. It's just something that's going to throw you off. Your heart rate's up. You're stressed out, and that's exactly what it does. So it has nothing to do with a lack of skill for Robert Killian. He's probably I don't know. I wouldn't say the best. Maybe he is. He's up there,
yeah,
definitely. So it has nothing to do with a lack of skill for him. But
no, it's, I think the best thing someone can do, find a way to practice it. And once you do, think about what you're doing as you're doing it. And when you have a strategy down that works for you, don't forget it. Make a routine out of that. So each time that you get up to that spear throw, you do the exact same thing. Like, I think of it in little steps, even though I don't think of the fact that I'm thinking it. It's just become a habit. So once I know the spear throw is the next thing coming, if I see it in the distance or if I memorize what it's after on the map, I start thinking, okay, spear throw time. Calm down, chill out. Like, don't be racing, don't be rushing right now. So, like Asheville was this past weekend. It was the tire flip, which I struggled with but got. And then I wasn't actually saying that for you, but then it worked out. But then the spear throw is next. So the minute I turned and saw that, I was like, okay, just keep a steady pace. I believe it was right after, pretty sure.
it was right before.
Well, I don't know if they switched it. It was definitely after the fire flip, and I think it was directly after. Anyway, I was running up to it and I was thinking, okay, calm down, calm your breathing down. And then once I got to it, I try and find one with a straight point. You can't always tell because they're in the targets, but it looked like it would be a good one. So I pull it out, I reel it in hand over hand. I make sure the cord is behind the fence. I make sure it's not tangled on anything. Balance the spear. And once that's done, takes about, setting it all up takes maybe 15 seconds. And then I just throw it. And I try not to wait at all. So, if I was as good as some of the Ryan Atkinses of the world, I'd beat him because I'd take less time on the spear, but I'm not as good. So he can take 5 minutes on the spear, and I'll still be behind him so far. Cool. I think that's all of the main ones. There were some other ones thrown in there, but we've already taken a long time, so we won't address those now. Hopefully, you found this interesting and picked up some good tips from it. Obviously, there are a lot more details and nuances to some of these things. We just gave the brief overview of a lot of questions, 11 different questions or topics. So if you're looking to improve in your area, any area, the ones we listed or any other ones in OCR, please reach out to us. You can head over to triofitnessocr.com, check out what we have there. If you're not sure or have questions about what you want to do, we can set up a video chat, a phone call, you can email us, whatever, ask questions in advance. But we'd love to help you out with your OCR training and get you to reaching all your goals, whether that's getting up the mountain without stopping or completing a specific obstacle or all the obstacles or what.
Yeah, and let us know if there's any video or topic you want us to go over, and we can make another video and talk about that. Anyway.
Yeah, we had technical difficulties earlier, so, but that's all right. That's what happens. We're moving on. All right, awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully we'll catch you soon on some new topics.
See you on the course.
On the course.
Bye.